it's only a very small step to realize, wow, that sound takes place in the same place as my thoughts. That is a little awakening, to realize that. So the first thing we do, and we do it with our eyes closed, because to begin with, we close our eyes, that removes this, the most difficult realm, the visual realm. And then it's not quite quickly, certainly in a group like this, we realize, yes, all my experience is inside me, including what I previously thought was outside me. We start with sound, but then we put our hand on the chair. Thought says it's an object that appears outside me. But with my eyes closed, that is without the visual realm, put your hand on your chair. Where does that sensation take place? My only knowledge of the chair in this moment is the current sensation. That sensation takes place in the same place as my thoughts and feelings. So this way we start with sounds, then with sensations. I don't tend to go into smells and tastes because we're not eating and drinking here. So then we open our eyes, and then suddenly everything that seemed to be clear seems to be lost now. We think, oh, but the world's jumped outside, and the subtext of that is I have contracted inside. So we spend time then with the visual realm. And in the meditation, when was it, yesterday or the day before, we go very, very slowly. We first go to this knowing, then we start incorporating the body, then we start incorporating sounds, and then we just open the eyes a millimeter before thought can label what it sees as tree, person, chair. It's just a vibration of greeny blue. And then we close the eyes again to go back. Immediately the eyes close. Everything is inside of us again. Then you open the eyes a little bit more and see that the experience that you're having with your eyes open is taking place in the same place that your experience takes place in when your eyes are closed. In fact, all experience takes place in the same place. All experience. And that place is not a place. Because all we know of a place, such as this, is itself experience. Experience doesn't take place in that place. That place takes place in dimensionless experience, which is pure knowing. So in this way, we go first of all, as you rightly say, we go to ourself first. We establish what I essentially am. This is the middle stage. This morning I quoted Ramana Maharshi. First, the world is unreal. We take our attention off that. Only Brahman is real. That's the middle stage, when rivers are no longer rivers and mountains are no longer mountains. We've realized our true nature. Yes, I am pure awareness. And then we stay there, because it's not enough just to know I am awareness. We have to know the nature of that awareness. We have to discover that it doesn't share the destiny or the limits of the body. And then gradually, not all at once, but gradually we begin to build up our objective experience again. And I usually start with thoughts, because they're the closest to us. Thoughts are obviously just made of the knowing of them. And then we can go to feelings. Actually, I usually go to sensations then. And then we do a meditation for a few days just with sensations. But then gradually we begin to incorporate this most difficult realm, as you say, the realm of perception. So we incorporate sounds, and then touch, and then last of all, sight. Now, I'm describing it sequentially like this. In practice, we tend to go back and forth, and depending on the group and the conversations, I may start halfway, I may go back to we mix it up, because it's not a linear process. It's more like filling in a jigsaw puzzle. You don't fill in a jigsaw puzzle, and you don't start in the corner and gradually fill it out in a logical, but you put a bit in here, and then you put this corner, and then this corner, and then a little bit along here, and then a bit, and you fill the whole picture, fills in simultaneously. And in fact, what we're doing is a little bit like doing a jigsaw puzzle. It gets easier and easier and easier, and simpler and simpler and simpler, and there are less and less elements To begin with, you've just got this, it's also complicated. There are 1,000 pieces and none of them seem to relate to each other. One minute you're saying awareness is this, the next minute you say something else which seems completely unrelated, then you're talking about being, and then you're talking about this, and it can be mind-boggling. But slowly, particularly those of us that really go deeply into this, we after a while we get the corners. That gives it some, it begins to be simpler. It's not all chaos. And then we begin to fill in the edges. And as we fill it in, the picture, a single picture begins to emerge in direct correspondence to the singleness of the picture that emerges. So there are less and less fragments. And each of these fragments, the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, they all fit in. And in the end, there's just a few spaces and it's quick. And then it's one thing. And then you look at it and you say, it's so simple. It's so simple. It's that there aren't 1,000 pieces there. There's just, experience is always one thing. Except here we remove the thing. Experience is always, more accurately, it's not two. In this case, it's not 10,000 things. But so we go slowly. So that was a very long-winded way of saying just keep going, exploring, along with your exploration of the philosophy behind this approach. Bring that philosophy into your felt, perceived, and lived experience. That is what brings the peace and happiness that is in the background of awareness, that is in the background of all experience. That is what brings that peace and happiness into the foreground of our experience, so that we don't just find peace in deep meditation as the witnessing presence of the background, in the background behind all these thoughts and feelings. In time our thoughts and feelings are, and in time our thoughts, feelings and sensations and perceptions are flooded. The peace comes from the background and it begins to, it's like a tidal wave of peace comes from the background and it begins to flood the foreground of our experience. The way we feel the body, the way we interrelate with one another, the way we perceive the world gets increasingly permeated, or it's transfigured in the Christian tradition, or outshined, or simply, those are exotic terms, but it's just a permeation of our experience with peace, which sometimes bubbles over into happiness. Happiness is the overflowing of peace.